Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Carving It Up live right here on Facebook, as well as the Carving It Up YouTube channel and the Grid Network YouTube channel. As always, I am Bryson Carver. Very excited to be with you on this Friday with a jam-packed show. In about 12 to 15 minutes, going to discuss the Buffalo Bills, why they are far better than they got credit for. There's no question about it. And, you know, it's so funny. Coming into the season, there was so much, the people are selling their Buffalo Bills stock. And me, the guy who's been pessimistic about the Josh Allen Mahomes comparisons, all of a sudden I'm like the Bills guy. Maybe I can win over Bills Mafia. I don't know. Listen, that is a fan base that doesn't like me. And it actually genuinely bothers me because I actually like Bills Mafia. They're passionate. They love their team. They've been through a lot. Discuss why the Bills are very, very, very real in about 12 minutes and why this type of situation for them in terms of what they did yesterday will continue. The Vol View in a half hour game for Tennessee, in which they're almost 50-point favorites against Kent State. Nonetheless, the game still holds a lot of significance for Tennessee. I'll explain exactly what that is in a half hour on the Vol View. And of course, at the end of the show, it is a Friday, so all NFL picks, week 2, Sunday picks. We'll predict Falcons-Eagles on Monday night's show. We're going to have upset of the week, and this one's going to shock you. My upset of the week is big, and it is bold. My Bryson's Bleak bet, the one game I have zero confidence in predicting, but hey, come on, you got to pick them all. And of course, my 3 favorite segments or my 3 favorite games of the week for
Bettin Man.
If I Were a Bettin Man. That, as well as other predictions for the other games around the NFL on Sunday coming up at the end of today's show. But first, man, the bad news keeps coming in this regard. So the Buffalo Bills blow out the Miami Dolphins last night, 31-10. I actually had this being a relatively close game, although I did, of course, pick Buffalo to win this one. They've traditionally kind of owned the Bills in the Josh Allen era. Allen has historically played very well against this Miami team, and Tua, conversely, has not done so well against the Buffalo Bills. But the story coming out of this is the fact that Tua Tagovailoa just suffered another concussion. It's his 3rd undiagnosed. Let's be real. It's his 4th total. In the last 2 years. It's a 4th down play. Miami was deep into Buffalo territory. They were down 3 touchdowns, need to try and put themselves in position just to get back into this football game. Tua runs for a 1st down, which is kind of uncommon for him, given the fact that we kind of think of him as this pocket guy. You know, he can move in and out a little bit, but he's not a dude who's just going to take off and run like a Lamar Jackson or a Justin Fields or somebody, or even a Josh Allen, the guy who's on the other side of the field or the other sideline. Runs for a 1st down, and who put of all people, what are the chances? Damar Hamlin, who's been starting at safety for the Buffalo Bills thus far this season, God bless him, hits Tua Tagovailoa. Matter of fact, you can actually argue Tua lowers his shoulder, lowers his helmet into Damar Hamlin, goes down, and I swear to y'all, as I was watching this game, once that collision happened, I kind of like winced just because you know it's Tua, because I knew it was Tua. When Tua goes down, I'm not going to show the footage because it's tough to watch. You never want to see a guy get concussed. But when Tua goes down, his back is to the end zone. Keep in mind, the Miami Dolphins are inside the 10-yard line. His back is to the end zone. And he kind of stumbles and does the point for like the 1st down. Like, you know, guys get a 1st down, they point for 1st down. And when he did that and was kind of wobbly, I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. It just happened again. And of course, he was taken out, almost immediately declared a concussion, and of course, did not play the rest of this game. And there's been a lot of discussion, prognostication from shows like mine. And in terms of Tua's future, which I'll get into in just a second, I think generally speaking, anybody making any blanket statements about what he should do one way or the other, I think that should just be relegated. This is just my personal opinion. I think that should be relegated just to players and coaches because they know the game far more intimately than the rest of us common fans know it. We can watch football. We can root for football. We can be diehard fans of our teams or of the league. Nobody knows like the people who are in between those white lines or the people standing on the sidelines. So, you know, you have your Shannon Sharps, your Des Bryants, your people out there just immediately coming out and saying, man, Tua's got to retire. So I understand that perspective, and I respect it one way or the other. Here's my perspective. This is now 4 concussions for Tua, and 3 diagnosed. It's been 4 concussions. We remember the one they suffered, ironically, against these same Buffalo Bills 2 years ago. It was actually his first NFL concussion. Remember, it was week 3. They were playing the Buffalo Bills. I think it was the first half. Tua throws a pass, gets shoved in the chest, and because Tua's not a big guy, goes down, and his head slams the back of his head slams against the turf. And I'll never forget it on this show. And I love Dolphins fans, but so many were arguing with me because, hey, the Dolphins said it was a back injury, in which I said, and I stood on my ground, that is not a back injury. That is all-day concussion. Tua went down, slammed his head on the turf, stumbled up, kind of tried to shake the cobwebs out, then stumbled again. Like that was full stop. That was a concussion, no question about it. So he suffered 4, and we can show you, it's tough to look at, but we could show you Tua's injury history right here if we could put this up here. So there you go. Going back to college, knee patella sprain, high ankle sprain, another high ankle sprain the next season. And so these are, by the way, at Alabama. Then he, of course, had the brutal hip injury that he suffered his final year in his final game at the University of Alabama. So you have those situations in college. 2021, he had a chest rib fracture, and then you see the last 4, concussion, 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 and finally a concussion last night. Here's what I feel pretty confident in. Tua's going to talk to his family. I believe he's married, and I believe if he's not married, I believe he and his girlfriend, wife, whatever, have a child. So he's got a family. He's got, even his parents and extended family. Fox Sports did a great documentary about Tua when he was in Alabama, or coming out during the draft process in 2020. And just as lovable a family as you could possibly imagine. Supportive, tight, the whole bit. Tua, we all know, I've been critical of Tua in the past. Many have, just in terms of what he's done, or in some cases hasn't necessarily done on the field. Tua is an A+ human being. Tua is mature. He's very well spoken. He's got a family, something that he and I both share deeply is our faith, our common faith in Jesus. He's an A+ human being. And by the way, his Dolphins teammates couldn't speak any higher of them if they tried. They love him. Tua's going to speak with his family, and I think Tua's going to speak with the Miami Dolphins. I don't know what his decision will be, but I would be very, very, very surprised if that's not the case. Mike McDaniel, the head coach of the Dolphins, obviously after the game was talking about how, y'all are doing more, this is an exact quote, but y'all are doing more damage to the situation by discussing it. Just let Tua be. Let's give him time to heal and get himself back in a situation where he's in good shape. So I'm not going to be one to tell Tua to retire or not to retire. Here's what I will say. His deal got his situation and his decision, to me, if he does decide to step away from the game of football, did get easier because of what happened this summer. And what happened this summer is that Tua Tagovailoa signed a long-term contract extension with the Miami Dolphins. Okay, $212 million. And I believe how much of this is guaranteed? $167.2 million guaranteed. So Tua's going to get the bag regardless. And it's funny, when I saw Tua go down, and he did, God bless him, walk away in his own power. That was great to see. Like, we've seen the second concussion, the first diagnosed concussion, the second concussion we all know he suffered on another Thursday night game against the Cincinnati Bengals in Cincinnati. Remember, Tua goes down, and then his hands are in weird positions. I mean, it was horrifying to watch. So it was a far cry from what we saw 2 years ago in that one Thursday night game. He walks off the field in his own power, great. But I couldn't help myself but think about Luke Kuechly. Remember, Luke Kuechly from the Carolina Panthers was the best linebacker in professional football. Full stop. I mean, was the anchor of a Panthers defense that complemented an MVP in Cam Newton, great Panthers offense, got to the Super Bowl with the 15-1 record in the 2015 season. Luke Kuechly was as great of a linebacker as we've seen in the 21st century. Awesome. But dear God, he suffered a lot of concussions. And there came a point in time where he had to say, and he even put this essentially in his retirement video, that there's only so much more hits I can take, and I've got a family, and I've got a future, and I'm young, and I'm healthy. I love football, but it's not worth it. Now, Luke Kuechly's a linebacker, so let's use a quarterback example. Not necessarily, parallel as it pertains to concussions, but how many quarterbacks in the last 25 years, in terms of the extended period of time, got hit more than Andrew Luck? And this before I had a show, I used to bag on the Colts year after year. Would you please get this man an offensive line? He's taken brutal shots. I remember Andrew Luck played a game against the Denver Broncos, Peyton Manning's last year. It was his final game against his old squad. Andrew Luck led the Colts to a victory over the, at the time, undefeated Broncos with a lacerated kidney. I mean, the guy was as tough as nails, but man, he took way too many shots. And it came a point in time, he was injured going into the 2019 season. And infamously, during a Colts preseason game, Andrew Luck retired. And he said, I can't take any more of these shots to my body while I'm still young and healthy. I don't know what Tua is going to do. I don't. If I had to guess, and I hate guessing on situations as serious as this, if I had to guess, I say that he probably comes back. When? I have absolutely no idea. That's a complete shot in the dark, complete guess. I think if the Miami Dolphins are smart, they'll do what the Packers should have done. Now, Jordan Love, less serious injury and potentially out for a less period of time. We'll see. But if the Dolphins are smart, they go sign their old quarterback, Ryan Tannehill. Like, Ryan Tannehill can work with these weapons in Miami with Tyreek. You don't want to waste a year with Tyreek Hill, with Jalen Waddle, those talented players on offense. I may not believe in the Dolphins like some do, but those are still way too good players to waste your season, with all due respect, with Skylar Thompson. I don't know what Tua is going to do. I'm not in a position. I've never played football. I've never coached football. So I don't feel like I'm in a position to voice my opinion as to what he should do. What I can say is the fact that he did sign that long-term extension this summer, 109, does this number right? $167.2 million guaranteed. He's set for life. And by the way, even if Tua steps away from the game of football, steps away from playing football, doesn't mean he has to step away from football entirely. One of the things when I was complimenting Tua, he's a very well-spoken guy. Tua is, I always talk about how important it is. It's why I praise Caleb Williams despite his bad performance on Sunday. Being great with the media as a franchise quarterback is a prerequisite for the job. And Tua fills it A+. For my criticism of some of Tua's physical limitations, kid is awesome with the media. Fantastic. Maybe he wants to join the media. Maybe he wants to be a coach. Maybe he wants to work with Mike McDaniel's staff in Miami. Maybe he wants to go back to his alma mater at Alabama. I don't know what Tua will do if he retires. What I do know is he'll have options. He was a great college football player. He was a successful NFL quarterback, led the league in passer rating 1 year, led the league in passing yards another. He's had a solid career, short career thus far, and we'll see if this is it. But Tua's got the bag. Tua's had a successful college career. He'll have options. So at this point, Tua's not going to make any decisions yet. I'd imagine at this point, I think he talks to his family. I think he talks to Mike McDaniel, the Dolphins coaching staff, maybe even teammates to get their insight. And man, it was just a rough sight last night. Hated to see the kid go down under those circumstances. Once again, 4 concussions in the last 2 seasons. Yeah. Listen, I couldn't help but think about 2 things. Luke Kuechly, and thank God Tua got paid. Because had Tua not gotten paid and this happens, I can promise you, unless the Dolphins go to like the AFC Championship or the Super Bowl or something, they don't pay Tua. So praise be to the Most High that he got that bag and is set for life. And I have to imagine, listen, money isn't everything. I get that. Tua started playing football for the same reason that basically everybody in the NFL started playing football, for the love of the game. But the monetization of your abilities and of your talents isn't exactly the worst thing in the world. As a matter of fact, that's what draws some to it. Glad he got the bag. Praying for Tua for speedy and full recovery. The contract, I think, makes the decision easier. That's what I'll say. I won't judge him one way or the other if he stays playing or if he retires. But he does have to take into account he did get the bag. And that is huge. Let's check the comments. Patrick Brown. Shout out Patrick Brown. Happy Fridays. Whoa, if I can speak today. Articles are hot off the press. Stay tuned. More on deck for next week. Patrick wrote a great article, by the way, about Dak Prescott and his new contract. I think it was titled "No More Excuses." Patrick's a Cowboys fan. I'm sure you could see by his YouTube profile there. Shout out Patrick. Write some great articles for the Grid Network, and yeah, for sure. So this is this was tough to watch with Tua Tagovailoa, and man, it's, it was so huge for him, I think, and the reason I think he did get the bag, obviously he played well in the regular season last year, but also the fact that he stayed healthy every single game. Tua did not miss a start last season after the season prior when he had those 3 concussions from September to December. So, again, thank God he got the bag, and I have to imagine that absolutely factors into his decision-making here. So we'll see. Only time will tell. But I don't imagine this. And by the way, too, and then one more thing, and we'll move on to Buffalo's side of it, is that, Tua was, those last 3 concussions, they basically all 3 looked the same. Back of his head slamming on the turf or grass or whatever the situation was. Like, it was a situation where, the first concussion, I said at the time, you can go back and look 2 years ago, Tua should not have finished that game. He came back in the second half, finished the game, played on Thursday, and then because of, 2 concussions in a span of freaking 5 days, it was a horrifying sight on that field in Cincinnati, what happened. And then on Christmas Day against the Packers, he suffered another concussion. And again, same situation, slammed his head on the grass or on the turf. And in all 3 of those instances, my mindset was, oh, this could have been prevented by the NFL or by the Miami Dolphins or both. In this situation last night, it really was he was doing what I've seen plenty of quarterbacks do. What you prefer quarterbacks to slide in any instance, and that you saw that on Twitter a lot last night. Like, man, do a slide. Like, don't put yourself in position where a head injury can take you out, knowing your history. But it wasn't, it was a pretty routine. It was a hard hit, but it's a hit we see often in the NFL. And so with that context in mind as well, it was tough to watch. It really was. So prayers for Tua. And again, have to imagine the contract has to factor into the situation as well. The fact that he got the bag, $167.2 million guaranteed, that has to factor. Let's see what we got. Anthony Manzano is in the comments. This is an honest question for you, the GM and ownership and a coach of the Dolphins. I'm not saying force him to retire, but do you convince him to retire because his own body is telling him that he can't play the sport that he loves? Listen, it's... To me, the only person who should be allowed to make this decision is Tua. I think... I don't know how I feel about the Dolphins intervening. I don't know if you can force an athlete to retire. Now, you can say, Anthony, that his body is telling him to. I think there's a lot of evidence that would back that claim up. I don't know. I feel like this should be Tua's decision. He's earned that right. And yeah, I'll put it this way, though. It'll be tough to watch Dolphins games if Tua does decide to stay playing. It's kind of like when Alex Smith came back after the gruesome leg injury, came back 2 years later and played for Washington. And I could not watch a Washington game and not be like, oh God, I hope something doesn't happen again. Cause it was so devastating, a leg injury. Yeah. Ryan Flowers, my man, Clutch Sports Talk. Check out his show every Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And his new show, which he advertised on Tuesdays, I believe. Tuesdays or Wednesdays, one of the two. NFL. Ryan, tell me what it is in the comments, too, because I'm still trying to remember the name of your new show, but it's fantastic. Ryan says he needs to call it quits and enjoy the rest of his life until CTE kicks in. And that's it right there. That's the tough part of the conversation around Tua is, given what we've learned in the last decade. I remember 2000, I think it was 2015 when CTE started to become part of the national conversation. It was like, oh, Lord, that's tough. NFL matchups. Yeah, Ryan. NFL matchups drops on Wednesday. Definitely check his stuff out. It's not a live show. It's a full show, though. Every Wednesday, NFL matchups. Check out my man on the Grid Network. It's a Grid exclusive show. Grid Network's YouTube channel. If you're watching us on there, check out Ryan there. And then every Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Clutch Sports Talk. NFL Sunday, Clutch Sports Talk. Definitely check out his stuff on a weekly basis. Now to the Buffalo side of it. So, listen, the fact of the matter is, had Tua gotten hurt, had Tua not gotten hurt, the Buffalo Bills were going to win that football game the way they were playing. So, Buffalo again wins 31-10. And, it was so funny. Coming into the season for the Bills, I was really, really surprised at the narrative surrounding this team coming into the season. And that's odd for me to say, because last year I picked the Bills to miss the playoffs entirely. And I was that close to being right, ended up being wrong. Buffalo got hot down the stretch for reasons that we'll detail in the segment and the reasons they're starting this season well. So I didn't get the thing with Buffalo. Like, oh, they're just going to take this big step back. The loss of Stephon Diggs and Jordan Poyer. Micah, like these are big, big losses. And my mindset was, I don't know, they won a 5-game winning streak and won a playoff game without those guys being big key contributors. That's got to matter, right? It's got to matter the fact that the Buffalo Bills have the best tight end duo in football. Dalton Kincaid, who made some plays, Dawson Knox. The fact that they can go 12 personnel very effectively with James Cook, who we'll talk about in just a moment, who's, I'm just going to say right now, emerging star. Is that a reasonable claim? I'm not saying he is a star, emerging star. I mean, James Cook last night for Buffalo. So in terms of the receiving game, he had 1 catch for 17 yards in the touchdown or on the 4th down early in the game. And then running the football, 11 carries for 78 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had 7.8 yards a carry. Now, I don't know if James Cook is necessarily going to be that typical kind of bell cow back. I don't know if that's going to be sort of what his role with the Bills is. I think he can. I remember there was a game last year. I think they played the Cowboys. I forget how many times James Cook carried the ball. I think it was like 30 times, something crazy. So, and by the way, Keon Coleman, who's not made much of an impact at all thus far, but very talented young receiver. We'll see what he's able to do. Great player, obviously, from Florida State. And then obviously Khalil Shakir, who's a valuable player and was great for Buffalo in that last stretch for them to make the playoffs last year. Went crazy on my Steelers, broke my heart in that playoff game in Buffalo. So I didn't get the pessimism on the Bills coming this season. Maybe it was a little Dallas Cowboy syndrome, where the expectations are so high, in my mind, unreasonably high, to where if they don't reach them, well, I guess they suck. Or maybe not, they don't suck, but I guess they're maybe a slightly above average team. Like Buffalo will win 9 games. Maybe they make the playoffs, but the darn Jets were favored to win the division, which I didn't get. I talked about the Jets extensively on the show on Wednesday. You could check out that video. It's on the YouTube channel now. But there's no continuity with the Jets. The quarterback's old, off an injury. The defense is overrated. And offensive, in terms of their offensive skill personnel, I don't know. I think Buffalo's is better. I think they have more good players on that side of the ball than the Jets do. Now we're 2 weeks in. It is week 2, obviously, and the Buffalo Bills are 2-0. But I think similar to what I said about the Jets, given what recent data with the Jets defense and with Aaron Rodgers told me and led me to my pessimism about this team coming into the season, and to a degree were validated against the San Francisco 49ers, it's kind of the reverse with the Buffalo Bills. The reason I was optimistic about the Bills was based on data from last year that's carrying into this year. We could show you the numbers in terms of what do we have the stat right here? Matter of fact, I'm not sure yeah, here it is. Okay. So since Joe Brady became the offensive coordinator, Buffalo's completely changed their offensive identity. 3rd in rush yards per game, 1st in runs per game. Like they're beating the Ravens and the Niners and teams that are notoriously like to run the football. 3rd in rushing touchdowns and 1st in rush percentage. Like Buffalo's going to run the football. And we can show you, by the way, what Josh Allen is prior to Joe Brady arriving, or not arriving, but becoming the OC. It's an 11-game sample size because Joe Brady's been the OC for 11 games, if you include the 2 playoff games last year. Josh Allen prior to Joe Brady's promotion to being the Bills offensive coordinator. Do we have the stats here? Here we go. 285 yards total per game for Josh, 27 touchdowns, 15 turnovers. These are total touchdowns, by the way. 69% completion, 93 pass rating, 5-6 record. Like a good quarterback, very productive, a lot of touchdowns, but a lot of turnovers. Very much a boom or bust type of guy in the 11 games prior to Joe Brady becoming the offensive coordinator. But since then, some of the numbers have dipped, but the efficiency has improved. 266 total yards per game, but 30 touchdowns to 9 picks. So essentially you're talking about over a 3-to-1 touchdown interception ratio, as opposed to not even a 2-to-1 in the last situation, or touchdown to turnover ratio, I guess you'd say. 63% completion, you could improve on that, and then a 93.6 passer rating, so slightly better than he was prior to Joe Brady's arrival, but a 9-2 record. What does that tell me? It tells me they're not as reliant on Josh Allen. It tells me the fact that the Buffalo Bills are putting themselves in a situation where it's not boom or bust with Josh. We are not completely beholden to his abilities one way or the other. And so I think this is and by the way, the defense is playing well. They struggled against the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals ran the ball on them, pretty effectively. Miami really couldn't run the football as much as they would have. And Achane was really good, but they didn't run the football in key situations as much as they necessarily would have liked, given how good Miami or Buffalo's defense is. Situationally, the Dolphins struggled. Again, a lot of that came to Tua's interceptions, but very impressed by what I saw from the Buffalo Bills. No question about it. Let's see what we got. Yeah, so it's an impressive win for Buffalo. I'm telling you, every show, I don't know why this happens. We are trying to get it fixed. We've been trying to get it fixed for months. But every show, we deal with connection issues, and I don't know why. So I'm going to wait a second. Well, you know what? We'll go to break. We'll go to break on Carving It Up Live, and then we'll come back. Hopefully, the connection issues are somewhat resolved. Because right now, it doesn't look like we're necessarily getting there. So be back after the break. Carving It Up. Vol View coming up next after this short 1-minute break. Like our connection issues are still giving us problems. So here's what we're going to do. So I'm going to, you know what? Let's send us to another break. I apologize for this, folks, for our technical difficulties. I'll send us to another break, and then we'll try and get the connection issues resolved. So be back. One more minute, one more break for Carving Up Live. So let's go back. Okay, we should be good. This should look better for the show. Again, sorry about that Buffalo Bills segment. We just dealt with some problems there. I don't know what's going on with the Wi-Fi. Nonetheless, we're back, and it's a segment we do every single Friday, going back to last season. It's called the Vol View. So basically, the Tennessee Vols are my favorite football team. There's no question about that. I love my Vols. And listen, there's a lot of discussion around this team as of late. They're the 7th ranked team in America. Yes, my Tennessee Vols are in that discussion right now. So the Vol View, we're about to get ready to start for a Kent State matchup in Neyland Stadium tomorrow night with them orange britches, as coined by Volunteer legend and Kansas City Chiefs 2-time Super Bowl champion, the great Trey Smith. So the Vol View, are we ready to go? All right, the Vol View begins right now.
Football time in Tennessee.
Indeed it is. It is once again football time in Tennessee, and it's a good day. It is great to be a Tennessee Vol because Tennessee right now goes from a situation coming into the season. I felt like my Vols were slightly underrated given the situation, the fact that we got a 12-team college football playoff. I had Tennessee in as the 9 seed, I believe, playing a Notre Dame team, which just lost to Northern Illinois. So I would not be mad if we were to potentially get that matchup. But Tennessee goes to the season 15th ranked, smacks Chattanooga 69-3. And then they go into their first ranked matchup of the season in the Dukes Mayo Classic last week in Charlotte, North Carolina, where I'm at this point. I mean, was Tennessee the best team to play in Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte this far this year? I mean, come on. What is up, Carolina Panthers? So go into Charlotte, taking on a ranked NC State team, and you end up whooping them 51-10. Does that work? Does that work for y'all college football prognosticators and experts alike? Because of that fact, Tennessee goes from being the 14th ranked team in the country to the 7th ranked team in the country. And by the way, can I just say this? The fact that the Southeastern Conference, where we all know it just, if I could say it just means more in the SEC. The fact that the SEC has 6 of the top 7 ranked teams in the country. Georgia, number 1. Texas, number 2. Then you got Ohio State out of the Big Ten, number 3. Alabama, 4. Ole Miss, 5. Missouri, 6. And Tennessee at 7. And looking to just keep on moving up. So they got a game this Saturday against Kent State. Now, Kent State's 0-2 coming in this game. Tennessee, and I'm not kidding when I say this, is a 49-point favorite at Neyland Stadium. So, listen, a hefty line to cover. Listen, games like this, I always say, just generally stay away from because you never know if Kent State could score a couple meaningless touchdowns in the last 5 minutes of the game. So you have to factor all those things in consideration. We understand that. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say my Vols win this game. We can go and put up the score right now. We can go up with the score. Give me Tennessee 59-7 over Kent State. They do cover, barely cover, but they cover minus 49. Here's kind of what I'm looking for right now for Tennessee, though, is the fact that so their first, in theory, test, I say that in air quotes like it wasn't a test, but NC State's a solid team that Tennessee just came in and smacked last week, is the fact that, so you win your first ranked matchup of the year. Then you got a game at home. It's at night, so that'll help. But you're playing Kent State, who's 0-2, and there's a reason you're almost a 50-point favorite against this team. Could this be a dangerous spot for Tennessee? Maybe not necessarily to lose to Kent State, certainly, but to slip up a little bit. To be a little undisciplined, too many penalties, maybe an unnecessary turnover, missed field goal, those type of situations, sloppy football, because they got a massive matchup. I think it's a game that could end up being their biggest or second biggest win of the season at Oklahoma. Obviously, Josh Heupel, Heisman Trophy candidate for the Oklahoma Sooners, played there, was very successful there, now the head coach of the Tennessee Volunteers. So there's a revenge factor there, coming home, coming to your alma mater, and beating your old school, beating the Oklahoma Sooners. We understand all those factors come into consideration with Josh Heupel and with the Tennessee Volunteers. So in this matchup against Kent State, all of those things considered, I think Tennessee's going to show up. I think the momentum of being 14th ranked in the country and shooting up significantly all the way up to number 7. You're not in the top 10. You're comfortably in the top 10 teams in America. The fact that Nico, I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. Iamaleava. Nico Iamaleava. How about this? 16 for 23, 211 yards, 2 touchdowns through the air, 1 on the ground, by the way, in which he had, do we have this here? 65 yards rushing, so nearly 300 yards total for Nico. He did have 2 interceptions. You want to kind of clean that up. But running the football, Tennessee, and I've said this over and over, and Vol fans know this, but as flashy as Josh Heupel's offense can be, with the screens, with the spread offense, being able to use motion, a lot of screen passes, shots over the middle of the field to guys like Brew McCoy and others, is the fact that Tennessee's offense is set up primarily by the run game, by Dylan Sampson, who had the game of his life on Saturday, 20 carries, $132, and 2 touchdowns. So listen, this was a game where Tennessee made a statement, showed up, showed out against a solid NC State team, albeit from the ACC, the weakest Power 4 conference. We understand that. But it's kind of like a home game, pseudo home game for NC State. You go in, you get the pick six from, I believe it was Will Brooks, the walk-on, got the pick six against Grayson McCall last week. It was a beautiful sight to see for Tennessee. It was a beautiful game to watch in terms of their national championship contending ability. Listen, Kent State is a team that's not going to match up terribly well against Tennessee, as to be expected. I do think Tennessee covers. Put that score back up there one more time. 59-7, Tennessee wins this game. What I'm going to be looking for is a hot start for Tennessee. A situation where mid-third quarter, who knows, maybe early third quarter, Nico Iamaleava is nowhere in sight. I can't find him. He's somewhere on the sideline, just chilling. Maybe, a lot of football players like to eat bananas on the sideline just to, be able to, get fed during the game. They're done playing football and be able to get some action from the backup in this game against Kent State. So I think Tennessee's going to win this one 59-7. And again, it's sort of we saw what happened in Notre Dame last week against Northern Illinois, who's in the top 25. Congrats to those guys. But not looking ahead to Oklahoma, taking care of the here and now, being present, as Dak Prescott would say, being present, being in the moment, winning this game against Kent State, which I think Tennessee will do. So shorter edition of the Vol View, we understand that, but it is Kent State. We'll have a longer edition next week against the Oklahoma Sooners. But for now, Tennessee will win this one 59-7, improve to 3-0. Who knows? Maybe if there's some movement, maybe if a Wisconsin shocks Alabama, you never know. I mean, I'm picking Alabama, but you never know. It's in Madison. There's a chance the Badgers beat Alabama. Not saying they will, but, if that happens, Tennessee can move up in the rankings is what I'm trying to say. So that is it for this week's edition of the Vol View.
Football time in Tennessee.
There we go. Big game for Tennessee, just given this set of circumstances. You don't want to look ahead to Oklahoma. So there you go. By the way, I did see rumors, and they may just be rumors, who knows, that my Golden State Warriors could be in the Jimmy Butler business. I kind of mixed feelings toward that, given Jimmy's lack of availability as of late with the injuries to the Miami Heat. And, I don't know how him and Draymond would necessarily vibe, but it's an idea. It's better. Listen, I keep saying, I'll say it till I'm as blue as the shirt that I'm wearing right now. The Golden State Warriors can win the championship next year if you get Steph an all-star caliber teammate. I really like the ancillary pieces. I like the fact that they added guys like Buddy Hield and Kyle Anderson and DeAnthony Melton. I like those additions. With Steph Curry, with Draymond Green, you need that one dude to team up with Steph. And listen, dare I say, could it be a Kevin Durant if he's unhappy in Phoenix? Throwing it out there. It's within the realm of possibility. That's all I'll say. All right, I did pretty well on my picks last week. My NFL picks, I went 12-4. I think I went with that. What did I go? 11-5. I think against the spread. No, my bad. Well, way off. 8-7 against the spread. The Seahawks and Denver game was a push. So went 8-7 against the spread, 12-4 overall. I'll take it. I missed badly on my upset of the week. I took Carolina over New Orleans. Could not have been a more incorrect prediction on my part. Bryson's Bleak bet. I guess in theory, you could say I'm correct because it's called Bryson's Bleak bet. I took the Buffalo Bills to cover -6.5. They end up winning the game by 6. So Arizona does barely by the skin of their teeth cover despite the Buffalo comeback there in the second half. So you have all those things considered. I feel good about this game. I did what I think I went 2-1, I believe. I should have looked this ahead of time, folks. I apologize, but no. Let's see, 0-1. Okay, so no, I actually went 1-1-1 on my If I Were a Bettin Man segment, which y'all know, longtime listeners of the show know is my favorite segment of the week. 1-1-1. I think I got a 3-0 week ahead of me. So let's go and get the background music going right now. Let's do week 2 NFL predictions for Sunday. We will start in Baltimore with the Las Vegas Raiders taking on the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore is favored -9. So a big favorite here at home are the Baltimore Ravens. So both teams obviously coming off of a week 1 loss. The Raiders losing 22-10 to the Los Angeles Chargers, and the Baltimore Ravens obviously losing 27-20 against the Kansas City Chiefs on opening night in Arrowhead Stadium. This was almost an If I Were a Bettin Man game. I almost thought about putting this among my 3. I feel great about taking the Ravens -9 in this situation. The Baltimore's obviously got extra rest. There's the motivation coming out that rough loss to Kansas City, given how close they were. They beat themselves, busted coverages, penalties, a missed throw by Lamar, to Zay Flowers. Isaiah likely not getting the feet down is a brutal way to lose to a team that knocked you out in the playoffs. Baltimore's going to come in pissed off. Their first home game since the AFC Championship game. And again, I maintain, aside from a few players, this Las Vegas Raiders team simply is not very good. I like Antonio Pierce. He made a brutal call to punt on 4th and 1 last week. I don't know what he was thinking. I'm going to go with the Ravens. I feel very confident about this by a final score of 30-13 over the Las Vegas Raiders. Baltimore Ravens take them -9 in this spot. Lamar Jackson tends to blow teams out at home that aren't in his division. Give me the Ravens 30-13 over the Las Vegas Raiders. Coming up next, we've got a very fun matchup, okay? We got the Dog Pound in Jacksonville with the Jacksonville Jaguars taking on the Spotted Cats, the Jacksonville Jaguars, in this matchup. And wait, hang on just a second. Browns Jaguar. Okay, I am being told in my ear right now, folks, I'm being told that there's going to be extensive security in Jacksonville for this game because of an imminent threat that I think. Do we have video? What's the threat? What do we got going on in Jacksonville right now between the Browns and the Jaguars?
They're eating the dogs. The people that came in, they're eating the cats. They're eating the pets.
I'm nervous. Listen, listen. We got dogs in Cleveland. We got the cats, the Jaguars. That's a cat. In Jacksonville. That makes me kind of nervous for this game. Listen, I'm a big Trevor Lawrence fan. I don't want nothing to happen to him. I may not like the Cleveland Browns. I don't want them to be in danger of any sort. Like, given what the 45th president says, it sounds like it could be quite dangerous. Although it's not in Ohio, so I guess I don't know. Nonetheless, Jaguars are favored -3 at home. So essentially, what Vegas is telling you is that this is a little bit of an evenly matched even matchup in this situation. So look, both teams 0-1 in very different circumstances. Cleveland at home gets waxed by Dallas. Start to finish, the Cowboys come in. Dak dominates the great Browns defense early, and then the Cowboys defense, particularly the pass rush, just gets to Deshaun Watson all day. I talked about Deshaun and the Browns extensively last week. Not a whole lot of momentum for that franchise, given the god-awful contract that they gave that guy. And by the way, more allegations of disturbing behavior off the field for Deshaun. For the Jacksonville Jaguars, they're also 0-1, and ultimately that's all that matters when it comes to winning games in the National Football League. That said, they kind of beat themselves in that game in terms of turnovers with Travis Etienne and in terms of coaching with Doug Peterson. Making some rough. Again, we talk about Antonio Pierce going for it or not going for it on 4th and 1. How about Doug Peterson going for it on 4th down and 2 in his own territory when you've got the momentum in that game? So a rough loss from the Jaguars against the Miami Dolphins. So listen, I think they're calling it. I think they're naming the stadium after Trevor, like Trevor Bank Field or something like that. Like there's a lot of hype around Trevor Lawrence with his I guess endorsement with the bank that sponsors the Jacksonville Jaguar Stadium. Listen, I don't know. Listen, you don't want to overreact to week 1. I understand that. Cleveland can run the football effectively, of course, with Ford. They've got a good O-line, not quite as good as it's been in years past. Myles Garrett's awesome. He can make a big impact in this game. I could see a realm of possibility where Trevor Lawrence really struggles in this game, given how great that Browns defense is. I think the Jaguars have great weapons, an excellent running game. And listen, I've said over and over, I love Trevor, but this is kind of a put up or shut up season for him. I need to see him in a spot where he's consistent, start to finish, all season long, gets the Jaguars team to the playoffs, as we was brought there to do, certainly what he was paid to do as the number one pick in 2021 and one of the 5 highest paid QBs in the league. Give me the Jacksonville Jaguars. I believe in them as a playoff team. I did not believe in the Browns as a playoff team this year. Jacksonville covers -3, and they win this game 24-17 over the Cleveland Browns. Jacksonville 24, Cleveland 17. And watch out. Dogs and cats, you gotta watch out. You're in imminent danger. Who knows? All right, moving on. New York Jets, Tennessee Titans. It's a weird one. It's in Nashville. Jets, though, on the road favored -3.5. Again, 2 0-1 teams, both of which, again, losing in very different fashion. Jets go to San Francisco and get their arse whooped by a great 49ers team. The Tennessee Titans self-immolate a blocked punt returned by Simone Biles' husband for a touchdown, then a pick six, as bad of a pick six as you will ever see by Will Levis to help the Chicago Bears get back into this game. Caleb Williams could not have debuted worse, and yet the Titans still managed to beat themselves up and lose this game in the end. So again, Jets favor -3.5. Here's what I will say. None of us really think Tennessee's that good. I like some of the Titans, to me, feel a lot like the Las Vegas Raiders, where there's individual pieces I like. I like DeAndre Hopkins, even at this stage of his career. Calvin Ridley and Tyler Boyd. Defensively, they got a great corner in L'Jarius Sneed, Isaiah Simmons. They got some dudes on that defense, and we understand what we saw with them what they did against Caleb Williams. The problem is Will Levis is terrible at being a quarterback in the National Football League. I can confidently say, as a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, the best quarterback in Tennessee is Mason Rudolph. Mason Rudolph has shown far more. I get he's been in the league longer, but just last season, Mason Rudolph was better than Will Levis. I think he can be better. He can win the Titans more games than Levis can win. Nonetheless, Jets have to win this game. If the Jets lose this game, their season is over. I'm going to put that out there. Listen, I think there's like an 11% chance of making the playoffs if you start 0-2. You're telling me the Jets are going to be one of that 11% if they lose on the road to the Titans? I do not see that happening. I'll believe in Aaron Rodgers for this one Sunday. I think the Jets defense, they got embarrassed against San Francisco. I don't think that'll be the case against a bad quarterback in Tennessee. Give me the Jets. I'll give them a double-digit win. I'll be nice. Listen, Jets fans were ticked off with me, including some Jets fans in my own life. I understand that. I will take your team this week to cover -3.5. Give me the Jets 23-13 over the Tennessee Titans. It is now time for Bryson's Bleak Bet. It's one game every week that I've absolutely zero confidence in predicting, but hey, I guess you got to predict them all, right? I'm looking right now at the San Francisco 49ers and the Minnesota Vikings. So San Francisco on the road favored at -4.5. And here's why it's Bryson's Bleak Bet. Here's why I don't have a ton of confidence in predicting this game. Is the fact that San Francisco lost to the Minnesota Vikings a year ago. Now, you'd say, well, Kirk Cousins played in that game. Justin Jefferson did not. Did that factor in? You had the factor that Christian McCaffrey, Kyle Shanahan's already ruled he's out for this game. Now, Jordan Mason, who went off over 150 yards rushing against the New York Jets, kudos to him, but he's no Christian McCaffrey. Kyle Shanahan can make any running back on planet Earth work. But then there's Christian McCaffrey, who's not going to be in the lineup. So listen, this is a physical Minnesota defense. I feel very iffy about taking Sam Darnold in this spot, and you also feel kind of iffy for a 49ers team that's going on the road as you know, almost a touchdown favorite in Minnesota. I don't know how confident I feel in this pick. That's why it's Bryson's Bleak Bet. That's why this segment even exists. I'm going to take the 49ers to win. They don't cover. You put that up there. Give me the Vikings +4.5, but San Francisco to win outright 27-23. Listen, I really like Minnesota's defense. Listen, 27, you look at that and you're like, I can see Sam Darnold throwing a pick six in this game, like a Treverius Ward or somebody. I can see Sam Darnold kind of costing the Vikings this game. Jets fans will know what I'm talking about. But Kevin O'Connell's a great coach. Vikings weapons are healthy, and the Vikings defense, albeit they played Daniel Jones last week, but they looked pretty good. And Brian Flores, we know he can do with teams on the defensive side of the ball. So for Bryson's Bleak Bet, I'd stay away from this game. But if you want to bet this game, take the Vikings +4.5, but the Niners to win this thing outright 27-23. Moving on to a team that I love. The Los Angeles Chargers going on the road to the Carolina Panthers in Charlotte. Listen, LA in this game, by the way, favored -5. So LA, I think, is very well put together in terms of the roster, in terms of what Jim Harbaugh wants to be. He wants to be a physical team. He wants to run the football right at you. He wants to get to the quarterback. He loves Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa and what they can do in terms of their ability to rush the passer. And Justin Herbert, we know in the fourth quarter, led 2 touchdown drives, of course, assisted by the running game. Really the first time he's had a consistent punch-you-in-the-mouth run game in his career. And he's got, can you make a case Justin Herbert may have the best tackle duo in the NFL? Joe Alt, in his first game of his career, held Max Crosby to 0 pressures. And we all obviously know on the other side, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting his name right now, the left tackle for the Los Angeles Chargers. I'm blanking out. Forgot his name. Nonetheless, defensively, the Chargers, I like what they can do with Jim Harbaugh obviously manning that group. Or, here's the problem. Carolina Panthers. They're bad. I thought they finished 3rd in the division. I thought the Saints will be god-awful this year. It looks like, at least based on last week's performance, the 2 teams literally played each other, and the Saints waxed the Carolina Panthers 47-10. I get all that. Bryce Young struggles against the pass rush. The problem is that his offensive line is one of the worst in the league, and even if they weren't, Bryce Young is 5 feet 9 inches tall and can't stay over the line. The Carolina Panthers receivers aren't as good as we thought. The Panthers defense lost. I think Derek Brown got hurt. They're dealing with some injuries on that side of the ball. I still love Dave Canales, whether he pans out in Carolina or not. I think the kid is a really, really good coach. I'm not picking him against Jim Harbaugh on the Chargers. I'm just not doing that. Give me the Chargers to cover -5 and win this game pretty comfortably by a final score of 28-13 over the Carolina Panthers. LA Chargers win this one 28-13 over Carolina. Moving on. Super Bowl 49 rematch, and it's going to be celebrated as such in Foxborough. You got the Seattle Seahawks, and you got the New England Patriots. The Seattle Seahawks in this game favored -3.5 on the road in Foxborough. So both these teams 1-0. And it's so funny to talk about the glory days, and that it's personally, in my opinion, the greatest Super Bowl I've ever watched was that Patriots and Seattle Seahawks matchup all those years ago, Super Bowl 49, Brady versus Russ, Belichick versus Pete Carroll. Basically, all of the characters, all the main pieces from that matchup are all gone now, either retired or on different teams. So listen, New England, a very impressive win on the road in Cincinnati, ran the football, especially with Ramondre Stevenson, right down the Bengals' throat. Here's the thing. Seattle has a great run defense, at least from what we saw last week against the Denver Broncos. And listen, Denver may not be able to run the ball terribly effectively. We understand what they can do in terms of stopping the run. For New England, it was very much we're going to make Jacoby Brissett a game manager. He's not going to be put in situations where he can make a ton of mistakes. We're going to be an opportunistic defense. We're going to take the ball away. Geno Smith, from time to time, can be a little loose with the football and maybe not make the greatest decisions in the world. That said, both defenses, I think, are excellent. I just think Seattle is on a different level on the defensive side of the ball, and certainly offensively. They have far better offensive players, offensive skill personnel against the New England Patriots. I don't know if Tyler Lockett's going to play this game. He's been dealing with an injury throughout the week. But you still have DK Metcalf. You still have Tyler Smith and Jigba. Kenneth Walker looks like he's going to play in this game. So I'm going to go with the Seattle Seahawks to win this game by a final score. A little bit of a defensive battle. 20-14 over the New England Patriots. Seattle win this one and starts 2-0 in Foxborough. 20-14 over the Patriots, taking the cover -3.5. It is time for the first of many, the first of my favorite segments on the show.
Bettin Man.
If I were a betting man, I'm looking at the New Orleans Saints and the Dallas Cowboys from Jerry World. Both teams coming in 1-0. Both teams coming off of blowout wins against lesser opponents. Here's the thing. I look at Dallas. I see that they're favored at -6. And to truth be told, I'm jumping all over this. Dak Prescott in his career is absolutely automatic. I think I saw. I don't know if this stat was true or not, but I think it was like 31-30 or something crazy, something along those lines. Is Dak against teams at home or against the spread? It was some stat like that. The Cowboys are great in those spots against teams like the New Orleans Saints, who I'm just going to say it up front, they're fraudulent. I don't buy them whatsoever this season. New Orleans coming in, they beat up a bad Carolina team. Okay, that's cute. And Derek Carr statistically in his last 5 games has been pretty good. Listen, the thing that I said about the Cowboys, it's very similar to what I said about the Buffalo Bills coming this season, where it's, I like them. I don't love them as a Super Bowl contender, but I like them to win the division. They got the best quarterback in their division. Yeah, Dallas lost pieces, but Dak's still there. CeeDee Lamb's still there. Micah Parsons is there. Trayvon Diggs is back. And Mike McCarthy is an is a slightly above average head coach, which is better than what Dak had previously with Kellen Moore. So listen, Dallas's offensive line held up pretty darn well given the circumstances against Cleveland. I think they'll do even better job against a lesser opponent. I'm going to take Dallas to cover easily. Give me the Cowboys 34-17 over the New Orleans Saints. They improved to 2-0, and really the litmus test for the Cowboys. What are they going to be this season? Some of that will be determined next week when they take on the Baltimore Ravens. But in this matchup, in this situation, give me Dallas 34-17. If I were a bet man, take Dallas -6. Moving on, staying in the NFC East, we got the New York Giants against the Washington Commanders. Washington is favored -1.5. So in his career, Daniel Jones has actually been pretty successful against the Commanders. We understand Washington got absolutely ripped to shreds by Baker Mayfield last week in their home build. In Tampa Bay. I understand all those concerns. I get that. Here's the problem, is that Daniel Jones is bad. He's a bad starting quarterback in the NFL. There's no question about that. And this is a situation where, listen, Jaden Daniels struggled to throw the football against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Run the football, he's pretty effective. Here's where the Giants' strength lies, is their defensive line. If Jaden Daniels were like a Jared Goff type, if he were that type of quarterback, kind of stand still in the pocket, okay, we got a conversation in terms of what they could do to be able to get to him. But I've talked about this in the past. I talked about this with Lamar Jackson against the Kansas City Chiefs. People talked about, Baltimore's offensive line was terrible. When you're a player like Lamar, like Jaden Daniels, like Justin Fields, you can be able to extend plays, get out of the pocket, and make plays with your legs. It doesn't factor in as much in terms of what we're looking for in terms of being able to stand in the pocket and make throws. Right now, Jaden Daniels is a playmaker who can throw the football. So, listen, I like Washington in this spot. I like them to cover in this spot. I don't buy the Giants at all. Give me 27-17. Listen, Denny Dimes or Pennies or whatever you refer to him as, he'll lead a couple scoring drives. Again, Washington's defense still has a lot of work to do with Dan Quinn kind of coaching that group up. But nonetheless, give me the Commanders in this game. I think Washington's going to be like an 8-win team, 7-8 win team. Washington wins this one by a final score of 27-17 over the New York Giants. This next game was almost Bryce's Bleak bet. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Detroit Lions. Now, y'all know I love Detroit. I picked them to go to the Super Bowl. I think I said in Bryce's best 10, the second best team in professional football. I struggle with this one, and here's why. As previously mentioned, Baker Mayfield kind of torched the Washington Commanders last week. So there's that. There's the fact that Detroit Lions are coming off an overtime win, nonetheless, an overtime game against an excellent Los Angeles Rams team, and had to absolutely fight tooth and nail just to get to the finish line in that matchup. I get that. This is a playoff rematch. Ironically, how many times do we see divisional playoff rematches scheduled in the 1 o'clock window, and it'll be like one of the corner games of the NFL this Sunday. With all those things said, with all the fact that this was almost Bryce's Bleak bet, the fact that Baker played exceptions, Baker along with Josh Allen was the best quarterback in the league last week. All of that said, Detroit covers. What are we talking about? 31-21. Lions cover -7.5. Lions start 2-0. Again, I don't buy Tampa Bay long-term. I don't want to overreact to what was an impressive win by Tampa, nonetheless, against a rebuilding Washington squad. Meanwhile, the Detroit Lions are the best team in the NFC and the second best team in the National Football League. Give me Detroit by a final score of 31-21 over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It is now time for our second game for
Bettin Man.
If I were a bet man, I love this one. Indianapolis Colts, Green Bay Packers. I'm looking at the fact that the Colts in this game are favored -2.5. I look at the fact that Jordan Love is, of course, not going to play in this game. Matt LaFleur and the Packers said he was questionable. To me, that is nothing more and nothing more than them trying to play mental games with the Colts. Maybe they game plan one way from Malik Willis, they game plan another for Jordan Love. This is just Matt LaFleur trying to play mind tricks with the Colts because that's about all he has at the quarterback position that's going to roll his advantage. Here's the thing. Malik Willis is, I've said things about bad quarterbacks. Malik Willis is a good kid. He can't play quarterback in the National Football League. I don't know any other way to say it. He's started 3 times in his career for the Tennessee Titans. He's never once threw for 100 yards. Now, this is a bad Colts defense. It's the very reason I kept them out of the playoffs coming into the season. And Anthony Richardson is very much a boomer bust type guy. Anthony Richardson is the classic guy who hits about 250, 260. He'll hit 450-foot moonshots, and then he'll have some ugly strikeouts. I mean, that's what he is. Boy, when he hits that baseball over that wall, woo, is it pretty? Is it fun to watch? So Anthony Richardson and the Colts offense are going to throw a block party at Lambeau Field for the Packers home opener. Listen, I love Indianapolis in this spot. Give me the Colts minus 2.5. They win this game pretty comfortably, 29-15. If Ryan Tannehill was the quarterback for the Packers, I might feel differently about this game, but it's Blake Willis, and God bless him, he's just not very good. So give me the Colts 29-15 over the Green Bay Packers. If Jordan Love's back next week against the Titans, we'll see. If he's not, would you please just sign Ryan Tannehill before the Dolphins nab him for the second time in Ryan's career? Moving on to the NFC West in our afternoon window of games, the Los Angeles Rams and the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona in this game actually favored -1, so this is almost like a pick'em type of situation. Arizona very impressive, one of the more impressive losses last week against the Buffalo Bills. They blow out, they get out to a 14-point lead. They run the football very effectively with James Conner. Kyler Murray's making plays, and they're doing all of this while Marvin Harrison Jr. gives you nothing in this game. Now, some of that was Kyler. I think missed him at points when he was open over the course of the game. Nonetheless, they'll work out that connection. For the Rams, again, when talking about impressive losses, I don't know, you lose Puka Nacua, multiple other guys, you got a beat-up offensive line, and you go to Detroit, and team I think is going to win the conference, and you take into overtime, you have a 3-point lead with 30 seconds left in that game. Like, you were that close to making one more play. If Matthew Stafford is not pressured by Aiden Hutchinson and hits Cooper Kupp open on a third down late, Rams probably win that game. So there's a lot of momentum for both of these teams. It's a young season. Rams obviously have Super Bowl aspirations. Cardinals are trying to build a foundation. If they can, vie for the playoffs, great. Listen, I think it's to be a close game. I think this is very much going to be a Kyren Williams game for the Los Angeles Rams. We know the Cardinals' biggest weakness by far of that defense. They cannot stop the run whatsoever. This is a Kyren Williams game. Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp do what they can do. Maybe cash in the red zone from time to time. I like the Rams this spot. I'm actually going to go out on a limb and say they win on a walk-off field goal. It's a division game. These are close games. Take the Rams +1 and to win this game, obviously, outright. 24-21. Kyren Williams, give me 150 rushing yards for my man on the ground. Kyren Williams and the Rams go off. The Rams rushing game goes off, and LA wins this one 24-21 over their division rival, Arizona Cardinals. To my Pittsburgh Steelers against the Denver Broncos. Pittsburgh, who'd have thunk it? Week 2 with Justin Fields as the starting quarterback, we presume. The Pittsburgh Steelers are a road favorite over a Broncos team coached by Sean Payton and a Bo Nix who, uneven statistical performance if you look at the box score, but made some nice plays in that game last week against the Seattle Seahawks. So, these are two exceptional coaches, two future Hall of Fame coaches in Mike Tomlin and in Sean Payton, and two quarterbacks where there's a lot of questions. Justin Fields, there's a lot of questions because we're 4 years in and we still haven't seen you quite pop yet. And by the way, it's probably going to be Justin Fields. Mike Tomlin, in his press conference today, alluded to the fact that Russell Wilson's questionable, and if he's questionable, probably means he's not going to play the calf injury. So it doesn't look like, barring unforeseen circumstances, that we're going to get the Russell Wilson revenge game against his old squad, the Denver Broncos. Only time will tell, but I think Justin Fields is going to be the guy throughout. So Pittsburgh's got a phenomenal defense. We saw what they did to Kirk Cousins and the Falcons last week in Atlanta. That was very much a culture win for the Steelers. The fact that they win the game, kicking 6 field goals, and Chris Boswell going 6 for 6, doing his best Michael Jordan impression. Kudos to him. But listen, I don't love Mike Tomlin as a road favorite in the spot. If you look at the gambling numbers, the Steelers aren't great when Tomlin is, and the Steelers are a road favorite. I'm going to take Denver +2.5. But who we kidding? Give me the Steelers to win this game. Minimizing the mistakes. We do score an offensive touchdown this game. I do feel good about that. 22-20. My Steelers win this game. Take Denver +2.5. Sure. Give me the Steelers to win this one 22-20 over the Denver Broncos. And what do you know it? The Steelers go into week 3 with the best record in the AFC North and one of the last remaining undefeated teams in the NFL. Look at the next week. We got a tough matchup, I believe, against the Chargers in our home opener. So that's gonna be a tough matchup for my Pittsburgh Steelers with Mike Tomlin and Justin Fields. But we'll get to that. Steelers win 22-20 and win this one and go to 2-0 on this new season. It is now time for my final.
Bettin Man.
We're a Bettin Man Boy, I'm taking a good look at the biggest game on Sunday. The Cincinnati Bengals and the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs are favored -5.5, and it's bold, but I love it. And here's why. Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, we know they're historically great in September, but how about Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes as a favorite at home with extra time to prepare? How about Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and this Chiefs defense going against a Bengals team that's coming off an ugly loss to the New England Patriots at home with an abysmal offensive performance? The fact that the Bengals are notoriously bad. Joe Burrow 1-8 in his career between weeks 1 and 2 in his career. And the fact that those Cincinnati Bengals, Jamar Chase in particular, doing a lot of talking. Jamar Chase saying the Bengals are the team to beat in the AFC, despite the fact that the back-to-back AFC champions have literally won the last 2 Super Bowls, while y'all have won 2 playoff games in that stretch. So there's a little bit of a rivalry. There's a tension between these 2 squads. The first time we've seen Burrow and Mahomes competing against each other in almost 2 years. There's a lot of momentum, a lot of energy behind this matchup. I love Kansas City in this spot. Andy Reid, extra time to prepare at home. Listen, it's the vibe's difference, and that does matter. The vibe difference. The Chiefs are feeling great. They won a close opening night game against a great Ravens team, the back-to-back Super Bowl champions. They have beaten Cincinnati in the past at home at what was formerly called Burrowhead, which was kind of weird. And I love Burrow, but that was, come on now, it's Mahomes' house. And for the Bengals, I don't know, Burrow's never good in weeks 1 and 2. Cincinnati has bad vibes, and Jamar Chase out here talking trash and poking the bear. That is the Kansas City Chiefs. It seems like people will not stop doing that. So listen, if I were a betting man, I feel great about this game if I were a betting man. If we could put up the graphic right here, if we could put up the graphic, do we have it? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I think we have it. Okay, it's pulling up right now. I'll take Chiefs -5.5 and to win this game outright by a final score of 28-20 over the Cincinnati Bengals. Kansas City -5.5. Burrow's a 5.5-point dog. I don't love it. Yeah, actually, I do love it. Bull crap. I love it. I'm just messing with y'all. Kansas City wins 28-20 over the Cincinnati Bengals. Had Cincinnati won the game last week and won convincingly, I'm actually feel pretty good about the Bengals, and maybe they've overcome their early season woes. I have no reason to believe that that's the case, so give me the Chiefs 28-20. And finally, it is time for my upset of the week. Give me the Bears over the Houston Texans in Houston. Bears +6.5. Bears money line went outright 26-23 over the Houston Texans. Chicago wins my upset of the week, and here is why. Listen, this is a classic situation where the Vegas odds makers are vastly overestimating what this line should be. I'm not saying the Texans can't or won't win this game. I understand that. The Texans certainly have established themselves more as an organization, as a roster, than the Bears have in this young Caleb Williams era. Albeit it's one year younger than the C.J. Stroud era, nonetheless. So Houston, on the road last week, Anthony Richards goes 9 for 19 for over 200 yards. It was like a Terry Bradshaw stat line. You go back and look at Terry Bradshaw's Super Bowl numbers. They are strange. Like, the completion percentage is in the toilet, but the yards are really impressive. Anthony Richardson did a Terry Bradshaw impression against the Houston Texans, who kind of had to get bailed out by their quarterback, and we understand there's going to be games where that's the case. But if C.J. Stroud does not convert third down after third down in that game against the Colts, I think Indianapolis goes down and wins the game on a walk-off field goal. I truly believe that. So you got the Chicago team coming in where the entire momentum, the entire vibe, the entire energy is, man, rough opening game for Caleb Williams. 93 passing yards, bad completion percentage, no touchdowns, albeit to his credit, did not turn the football over, took some brutal sacks, missed some guys open. The expectations, maybe, dare I say, have been tempered a little bit for Caleb Williams. Not me. I still think the kid is a generational talent. I still think he's going to do special things at the next level in the National Football League. And this, in a nationally televised game, the Bears defense, which was exceptional, albeit against Will Levis, who's not exactly C.J. Stroud, nonetheless, showed up, showed out. Defensive touchdown, special teams touchdown. That's not going to happen again. That's not replicable. But I think you could see a spot where the Bears get out running the football effectively. Caleb Williams on the play action, playing very much, within the offense, getting his feet underneath him, and come fourth quarter, Stroud, Caleb, get used to seeing that battle, maybe in a future Super Bowl in the future if Kansas City is able to get stopped eventually, and if Detroit takes a step back Chicago, Houston Super Bowl, maybe in 2, 3, 4 years, something like that. Don't be shocked if we get that matchup. And in this matchup, Chicago will win this one. Caleb will lead a game-winning drive, and the Bears win 26-23, and they start 2-0, beating the Houston Texans, who I feel like have gotten a little too high on themselves. Is that fair to say? Houston is, there's momentum for this team to potentially go on and get to the Super Bowl. I really like the roster, but the experience, it's a question. So give me the Bears by a final score of 26-23 over the Houston Texans. Upset of the week. I like my picks. I really do. There you go. That is all the time we have for today's show. Appreciate everybody stopping by. As always, be sure to catch Carving It Up live on Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time, right here on Facebook, as well as the Carving It Up YouTube channel and the Grid Network YouTube channel. Of course, be sure to like, share, comment, and please take 2 seconds out of your day. Hit that big red subscribe button down there. Helps the channel grow exponentially. We are on the road. We are building that subscriber count, folks. There's a lot of momentum for the show, so go and get on the wave while you can. Don't say I didn't tell you first. Hit that big red subscribe button. Helps the channel grow exponentially, and you become part of the Carving It Up family. Is that not fun? That's a great thing to be a part of. And if you have subscribed, thank you so much. Please tell your friends about it, your family about it, everybody you know about Carving Up Live, except for your sleeping cat. Nealon is juiced about the game on Saturday. Nealon has a tendency, I don't know what it is. He gets very excited for these games where Tennessee is big favorites. Nealon doesn't want to get stressed out. He likes the comfortable night games against lesser opponents. Nealon feels good about that. Shout out to my little man. Listen, we did put him in. We did put him in the garage at night to make sure that he is safe from the imminent threat that 45 says that there's going to be. So just letting you know about that. Just as importantly, be sure to go subscribe to the Grid Network. That is GRYD, the Grid Podcast Network, right here on YouTube, as well as any and everywhere that you get your favorite podcast, be it Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, any and everywhere that you get your podcast. You can find us at the Grid Network, where we dare to be different. There you go. A lot of momentum with the network too. We got some special announcements to come for the Grid, so definitely stay tuned for that. I will see y'all on Monday. It's going to be a really fun college football weekend. Maybe not as many big games, but I think we're going to get some good matchups. That Alabama and Wisconsin matchup is going to be a fun one. And then in the NFL, listen, it's going to be Caleb Williams' first big moment. Justin Fields and the Steelers are going to be 2-0. Dak's going to lead the Cowboys to 2-0. Listen, Detroit's going to go 2-0. All my teams and all my favorite players, they're going to win for me again. If I were a bet man, I'd be winning some money. But, of course, I'm not a bet man. So there you go. All right. I will see you guys on Monday. Please stay safe out there. Please be sure to take care of your physical as well as your mental health. And please, please, please be sure to contact your local state representatives and senators to demand change for gun violence in America. Doesn't matter where you lean, right, left, center. This is an issue that affects every single one of us on a day-to-day basis in this country. And no matter what anybody tries to tell you about, oh, it's not a problem, or, oh, there's only one solution to the problem, that's gaslighting. That is not true. It is absolutely false. It's a huge problem that we need a number of nuanced solutions to solve it. So, got to address, especially given that it's an election year. If any candidate doesn't show any sense of urgency to solve this problem, either vote them out or vote against them, because we got to get this solved as soon as possible. All right, I'll see you on Monday. A lot of football coming. Stay safe out there. God bless y'all. Peace out. Steelers are 2-0. I mean, what can I say? That's what we're going to do. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.